All right, the Israeli government closed all border crossings into the Gaza Strip following the first wave of attacks on Iran on Saturday. This as Israelis are once again dealing with attacks and air raid sirens. Let's bring in David Halbfinger. He's the Jerusalem bureau chief for the New York Times. So what's interesting, David, is you know this. When I was based in Jerusalem as well, you know that it's a fact of life that there are oftentimes air raid sirens. There are oftentimes police activity when bags are left in front of significant locations. But there had been a sense of peace in recent weeks since the ceasefire with Gaza. How are Israelis feeling now that those air raid sirens are blaring once again?
Yeah, no, I got here just before the ceasefire in October, and there was a lot of excitement about the idea that the war would be over. And here we are in another one. I think, it's interesting. We're in this is the Jewish holiday of Purim. It's a kind of a Halloween for Jews, and here in Jerusalem, you see them on the streets celebrating a little bit, not in large gatherings so much. But they're wearing costumes. You see workers working on construction sites, and the sounds of life are happening even as the sirens are going off pretty frequently. And you kind of get the idea that people are either choosing to go into shelter or to play the odds. Obviously, that's a somewhat risky endeavor. But yes, people are both, I think, used to this, as you say, but also a little bit frustrated and fed up as well. There's a lot of support for this war because everybody understands the threat that Iran and its nuclear project, and of course its ballistic missiles that we've seen pose to Israel. But still, getting into a war and dealing with it and having your life put on hold, and that anxiety that you never know if a missile might land near you, or like as happened in Beit Shemesh the other day, it landed directly on a shelter and killed a whole bunch of people. So there's always that danger. So it's a lot for people to carry around and deal with, I think. But they're doing.
Yeah, and David, we understand you were just in a shelter 5 minutes before joining us. I mean, and you might have to leave during this if we hear sirens. But I want to talk about the situation in Gaza and the people in Gaza right now. There is this ceasefire, but what is the reality on the ground? And, what are people feeling there? What is the situation now that this war with Iran has changed the calculation a bit?
Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot of attention on Gaza this week for that reason. And it's a good question. I actually had our reporter in Gaza reach out to the team here in Israel in a bit of a turnabout to sort of send us his prayers and thoughts and concerns and hope that we're all okay. If that gives you some indication of how things are. But no, I mean, life is slowly getting, I wouldn't say getting back to normal, but it is getting back to something of a life. People are finding ways to, get to markets that have reopened. Aid and food and other supplies are coming in. But it's going to be years before things get back to anything like a normal life for many, many people in Gaza.
Yeah, and, it is interesting to me. It's always been fascinating how ordinary Israelis can just go about their day, as you point out, David, with the holiday. People are still, not letting the geopolitical events, even though they're incredibly frightening and distressing and without risk, and there is some risk involved, but they're living their lives, which has always been something that I found incredibly remarkable in the state of Israel. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, please stay safe.
Thanks. Happy to be with you.